Changing minds one thought at a time.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome into the Empowering Faith series. How are you doing today, Jessica?
I'm doing amazing, Akina. Thank you for asking. It has just been a wonderful weekend. I ran my 14th marathon in my quest for 30 by 30, and I am super excited for tonight's topic. It's one that is just so important for all women, and one we may not immediately connect in our minds to faith, but we're going to just really take it to a whole new level tonight on our Empowering Faith series and really just talk a lot about, how this topic, which I'll let you introduce in just a second, is not only connected to faith, but is connected to our success and our overall mindset and just really who we are as a person. So I'm really excited tonight for you to introduce our guests and topics.
Well, it is definitely my pleasure to do so. This person is an author and fitness speaker from the UK. She has a wonderful following on Periscope, and she is doing great things here in the UK and soon to be in the U.S. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Janine Cummings, and many of you may know her as Angel of Lace. How are you, Janine?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I am very, very well. Thank you. How are you guys?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the call tonight, Janine. It is definitely a pleasure.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. So let's get into it because, I'm just chomping at the bit to find out what good stuff you have to share for us tonight. We are talking about, we are talking about the power of forgiveness. So tell us how the power of forgiveness has worked in your life.
Well, okay. Well, the power of forgiveness has worked immensely in my life. As you know, I'm an author. I've written my first book, which is called Everything, From Losing His Love to Finding God's Love. And the story is about going through a really difficult breakup, so going through emotional bereavement, how I dealt with that, to, emotional recovery and freedom. And it was very, very difficult for me, as it is for the majority of people, going through, the loss of a loved one, somebody that I thought was going to be significant, was going to be my husband, was going to be with me forever. And, the plans changed. And I was left with a lot of pain, emotional pain, and a lot of resentment and a lot of confusion and anger. And I had to learn to find a way to forgive the situation, to let it go. Even though I still felt all these emotional attachments, I had to find a way to let it go. And I've written about forgiveness in the book, and it's the conclusion to the story. It's such a powerful thing to be able to forgive and release a situation that has held you in a place of bondage. So yes, it's very, very important, forgiveness. It forms it's a huge part of each of our lives. It's been a huge part of mine as well. So yes, I will share with you about that as we go along.
Yes, Janine. Can I ask? I would love to ask another question. Now, I love the topic going from His love to God's love. So tell us how you went to God's love. Tell us about that.
Well, when I met the Everything character, whilst I was a Christian Catholic, I didn't have a relationship with God, and through meeting him, I began my journey in my relationship with God. But it was never fully established. It was never really a relationship, a one-to-one relationship. It was more influenced by my relationship with the Everything character. I wanted to please him and be recognized by him. So, that's where my relationship with God started. But my relationship with God took a complete and total turnaround when the Everything character left me. And when he left me, I felt that my whole world had completely and totally stopped because I had made him my everything. And I saw God work with me from getting me to a place where I didn't want to live anymore, where I prayed and I said, Lord, if you're finished with me, I'm ready to come home. And to some, that might sound a bit dramatic, but when you're in a fire of affliction, when you're going through that emotional pain and you cannot see a way out, you can become, despondent and quite desperate. And I literally saw God transform me from that point to complete and total restoration. And it was a journey. It was a day-by-day journey, and it was back and it was forward. There was valley, mountaintop moments, valley again, completely restored. And that's what I talk about in the book, going from losing his love to finding God's love. And, without giving too much away, the book starts at one place and ends at another place. And it's such an empowering book, but it's empowering because of what actually happened in my life, the absolute complete and transformation. And, my relationship with God is so strong now, and I'm just so thankful for the experience and to be able to see God do the miraculous in my life, really. Complete turnaround, complete U-turn.
That's really powerful. One of my favorite things in the Bible is really just thinking about really who Jesus was on the cross and what he did for
Amen.
us. And
yes.
One of my favorite lines in the Bible was actually just the last words spoken of Christ on the cross. And the last thing he said before the spirit left his body was in the Aramaic was tetelestai, which means it is finished. And oftentimes we talk about really going through processes and going through these different steps and developing character, developing a mindset, developing a relationship with Christ. But when we talk about forgiveness, we don't talk about it as a process. We talk about it as a decision, biblically, right? It's one of the few things that is not something that we work towards. It's something that we choose and we have access to immediately. And I believe that the reason we have access to that immediately is because of the fact that Christ died on the cross for us, the fact that he said it's finished. And when he said it's finished, what we were given is the power to forgive because we were forgiven. And it gave us the power to forgive others, and it gave us the power to forgive ourselves. And I think that it's really important that people realize that. Oftentimes we have this energy, and we give a lot of energy to things that happened in the past, either decisions we've made that were not great or things that other people have done to us. And for me, I have really overcome in my own life really having people do things to me, and I had forgiven them, and for a long time I let it go, and I was able to forgive them, and I worked through these different transformation processes that I was able to go through exercises and forgive the people who have offended me or hurt me. But the one person I couldn't forgive was actually myself. And this was really the most difficult part of forgiveness for me. And it really was getting connected to the idea that God forgives me, and really the idea that, if you are not in forgiveness of yourself, whether or not you realize it, you're rejecting his forgiveness of you as well.
Amen.
And for me, it just was really powerful for me to get connected to that idea that I have the ability to forgive myself, and I have it immediately, and I have it because Christ gave it to me. And that was for me one of the biggest things. If you're putting energy into your mistakes and into the things that you've done in the past, that energy you're taking away from your ability to create and manifest. And we look at the stories in the Bible, right? Yes, exactly. And God said, I'm leaving the world, but you're going to do bigger and better things in the world. But you can look at the stories of the Gospels where the disciples went out and they worked miracles when Jesus went to visit cities and towns, right? And there were miracles that they couldn't do. And then there were people that couldn't be healed, demons that couldn't be cast out. And the disciples would bring the people to Jesus, and they would say to them, we can't heal this person, so you have to do it. And Jesus would look at them and say, you of little faith, the power that I've given you, you should be able to do this. Why can you still not do this? Yes. And for us, we look in our own lives and things we want to manifest, whether it's reaching a next level in our business, attracting the partner that we deserve, whether or not it's, manifesting a physical material possession that we want to have, that we have the right to have, because we do have the right to have everything we want because that's who we are, who we were created to be, abundant and powerful people, and yet we cannot create it. And I think a big reason why people don't have access to the full amount of their power is because they're in judgment and blame of themselves for past mistakes. And I know for me that one of the really kind of most important things I've done to fully access my power and create and manifest things in my life, and it's really something that I'm still doing and choosing on a daily basis, is forgiving myself. And like I said, it's one of those things where it may take a long time to get there, but it happens in an instant. It's not this process and journey. It might take us a while. It might be a journey and process to get to the point when we're ready. But the truth is that we have access to it now, and it really is a very simple, not an easy, but it's a simple choice. So what do you think about that?
Well, it's very powerful what you said. It is always a choice, and one of my pastors says to me all the time, don't wait to feel things. You have to make a choice. You have to think the right thing. You have to do the right thing, and then the feelings will catch up. I was watching Joyce Meyer on TV yesterday, and she was saying that, we can enjoy our lives irrespective of what we're going through, irrespective of the seasons or the fires of affliction. So, it's always about making that choice. It's always about saying, and like you said, a lot of the time, the reason why we struggle with forgiving is because we do struggle to forgive ourselves. But the Bible speaks all the time about God. It's always about forgiveness. Forgiveness is key. And, like you said, you made reference to Christ standing in the gap for us and dying on the cross and saying, forgive them for they know not what they do, and then it is finished. And this is the thing that a lot of us struggle with, that when something has happened, it is done. We carry the things on, we carry the burdens on, and we need to get into a habit. And, for a lot of us, I would say, it is about training your mindset. It is about making that choice. But so many of us struggle to do that because we get so caught in the feeling. We get so caught in this has been done to me or that has been done to me, that we find it difficult to do that. And I think that comes again from, it can come from, our childhood experiences, it can come from, a lot of different things. But we do have to get into a place of making the choice to forgive, making the choice to love, making the choice to, because, I could talk about this all night. Forgiveness is about love at the end of the day. It's about love. It's about sort of rising up to a higher level, because God is love. He is the vine. We are the branches. We abide in him. He is in us. So, we've got to learn to, like you say, manifest all these things that the Bible speaks about that will bring us up so much higher. So, it's so important to forgive ourselves. It's so important to make choices. And, a lot of the time it does have to be a daily thing, until it becomes habitual. But, I never forget what my pastor said, particularly when I was going through a difficult time. You think the right thing, you do the right thing, and the feelings will catch up. And I know to some that might sound a bit, quite simplistic, but it works. It works. So, it's so important to make choices and then to release those things that are hurting us. It really is.
Wow, Janine. That was very profound. We have to make the choice. Just like having faith is a choice, having forgiveness is a choice. Everything we do is a choice, and we have to learn how to work that choice. A lot of people say that, their choice was taken from them, but that's when we have to go in and take our choice back. We have to sit up there and we have to do what we have to do to live a godly life. And and part of that is forgiveness. And I was noticing that you were talking about how forgiveness is important to you physically, emotionally, but most importantly, spiritually. So can you really break that down for us? Tell us how that works.
Well, forgiveness emotionally is important. We have to release the emotions. For me, that how I find things is that, when my own personal experience, I couldn't get past the emotional pain. I couldn't get past it because, I felt that I was abandoned. I felt resentful. I had all this love towards this person, and I couldn't understand why, he had made the decisions he made. But one thing I have realized is that, even though it's difficult to let go, we have to forgive. We have to move on. We have to set that person free. And, when we do that, all the difficulties, the burdens, the emotion, the physical pain, the difficulty to move forward spiritually, they all release. We get stuck. We can get stuck in this negative cycle, and we need to release that. So for me, it was how I actually did it. It was really, really difficult, and it was a day-by-day process, with my relationship with God, prayer, going to the Word, listening to certain scriptures over and over again. Ephesians, is such a powerful scripture, passage of scripture, again, where it talks about the height, the depth, and the breadth of God's love, and just I constantly immersed myself in scriptures and worship songs that were all about love to help heal me emotionally. But for me as well, what I did, and it was during my writing, when I was writing the book, because, whilst I was writing, I could be honest enough and say, I still was struggling with my emotions towards the everything character. And, I set myself a target as to when I wanted the book to be finished. But I said that I would not finish the book until I had recovered emotionally. So if I didn't get to that point, if I didn't feel it emotionally towards the end of the book, I would not complete that book until I felt free. And I remember at the time I was reading a book by a woman, another author. She's a UK-based author, Daniela Bletner, who's actually my coach. She coached me through the self-publishing process. She's written a book called Mr. Wrong. And in that book, there's a chapter that speaks about the power of forgiveness. And I remember reading it, and there was a part in it speaking about writing a forgiveness letter. And in that forgiveness letter, you're writing it to that person who had caused you all the pain and suffering that you'd felt. And in that letter, you write everything down, every pain, every emotion, everything that you felt that you'd not been able to say to that person. You write it in this letter. And part of the exercise was that once you completed it, you got rid of it in whatever way you needed to, whether it was you burnt it or, you cut it up or whatever. And I started writing this forgiveness letter, and I started to feel this real power and freedom that when I was writing it, I knew that I had to have that as a conclusion in my book. I had to have that forgiveness letter to the everything character, because I finally started to understand that it was not about letting him off the hook. It was not about him, about forgetting what happened. It was about me. It was about setting me free. And I could feel the freedom that took place as I was writing this letter. And so I just knew that there was so much power in freedom, in forgiveness, There's so much power to be able to release those things, to release those burdens. So, for me, it hadn't been an easy journey, but I knew that for me, I had to get to a place where I could release those feelings and forgive him, because, there's that famous saying that, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It starts to manifest itself physically with you, and it was doing so with me. I wasn't able to sleep. I was losing lots of weight. I started to have real anxiety to the point where I went to see my doctor. And it just got to the point where I thought, this has to stop, because this is not hurting him, it's only hurting me. So, for me, it has been a process, but it's been so empowering physically, emotionally, and spiritually to just release and to work with God also in that release as well.
Wow, Janine. Yes, yes. Now, when you were going through the release,
yes,
and I can tell that you built that relationship with God more as you were going through the release and through the pain.
Yes.
Can you walk us through some of the things that you realized about your relationship with God once you were going through this trauma?
Well, the one thing that I realized is that God is so faithful and God is absolute truth, and God never, ever left me, and God is so loving. Even when you're in that fire of affliction, you know, I found for me, at the beginning, I was so angry towards God because I couldn't understand why he had blessed me with this person and shown me what I thought was, you know, a future and a hope for this person, to then take him away. And I was really angry at God at the beginning. But God, being who he is so faithful, and he's just said to me, just hold on. That was the initial thing that I heard from him. And it was a day-by-day thing. And it literally was, you know, you read my book, you will see it was literally God just holding me in the palm of his hand and just carrying me day by day. And it was, you know, it was a back and forward, you know, discussion and argument. Sometimes it felt, questioning, really, you know, angry at God, but he would reveal himself to me through scriptures. He would reveal himself to me. You know, I'd be listening to worship songs, and there would be a particular line in a song that spoke directly to me, or I'd be watching, you know, a program on the Faith Series or the God Channel, and, you know, Joyce Meyer or, you know, whoever it was, and they would say something that would really resonate with me, and I knew it was God continuously speaking to me. And you know, it was a real romance story, because, as I said, we went. When I say we went. My God and me went from, you know, me being so angry at him to him just really restoring my heart. And you know, I've just seen God work in my life, even when I was writing my book. There'd be times where I'd be sitting, I'd be listening to certain worship music on repeat, and I wouldn't be able to stop typing. And then I would type and I'd write some things that really showed me and reflected where I was not demonstrating my love to God, but yet still he was showing me how faithful he was. And it was at that time the realization of his love, his unfailing agape love, the love that surpasses all knowledge and understanding, it would reduce me to tears. And the connection, the love that I have felt with God through this journey, and it's not been easy, but, you know, where I've been faithless, God has been faithful. And, you know, it's been beautiful. It was like a new relationship, budding, blossoming, having its difficulties, but even though I wasn't consistent and steadfast, God always was, and he has reflected his blessings, his love, his truth. You know, when I look at my book and I hold my book in my hand, I say, wow, God, you know, wow, look what you have done. Look what you have shown me, you know. And not only that, I've come to realize that God has been with me from the very beginning. You know, God has been with me since I was a child. Even when I didn't even realize and understand the love affair that I was having with God, the friendship, God has always been there. And when you get to that place and you realize through your difficulties, through your trials, through your brokenness, that God has always been there, and irrespective of our failing love towards him, he never failed us. It's mind-blowing when you actually, when you understand it and you receive it and you're healed by it. And yeah, I just, you know, I'm smiling now because I just think, wow, God, I was a mess and you chose me and you have always loved me, and look what you have done with me. It surpasses all understanding. It really does.
Yes, yes. It's wonderful to hear your testimony. It is so wonderful to hear your testimony because, you know, a lot of people have went through that. A lot of people may have not had a relationship. They may have not really, truly opened their minds to him, but then something happened, and then they realized that the whole time he had been carrying them. the whole time that he had been moving in their lives, and they didn't even know it. They thought that they were running things, but no, he was really running it. He was moving in their lives in the background, and everything that he was doing was making them into the better person that he needed them to be so that they could work the work that he needed them to work. Janine, all this stuff that happened to you, that was just a catalyst to all the greatness that you're getting ready to become, Janine. All of the things that you are getting ready to do in your life, this was just a stepping stone to make you the most powerful person you need to be to move in his way, to move in his manifestation. So you just keep working and you keep doing what he needs you to do. You stand fast to his testimony and to his word. You stay in prayer, my sister. You stay in that word, my sister.
Amen.
And you move the way he needs you to move, because at the end of the day, my sister, you have a mighty work to do. So don't ever get off this path, because there are people out there that need you, my sister. There's people out there that need your message, my sister. There are people out there that resonate with you. And sometimes, you know, you may be able to reach somebody that somebody else can't reach, that the ministers can't reach, that the pastors can't reach, that the apostles can't reach, that the prophets can't reach. But you will be able to reach them, because they will understand that story that you gave, and they will say, I lived that. That was me.
Yes.
And if she can do it, I can do it too.
Amen.
Woo, I'm just saying. Oh, Father, I don't know where they came
I love
from.
It.
I don't know where they came from, but apparently that was for you, my sister. That was for you.
Thank you. I receive.
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
Yes.
Amen. Thank you. You know, it's really important. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. You know, it's one thing I've said is that, you know, it's so important that people are able to see somebody that they identify with, because when we are going through our fires of affliction, when we're going through those seasons of barrenness, you know, there's times when we can feel as if we're the only person that's going through that, and there's nobody that in the world that can understand what we're going through. And I want to be that person. I want to be, you know, the person that, you know, because, you know, I wouldn't classify myself as who would have somebody that's a traditional Christian. You know, you see me on my periscopes. I do a multitude of things because I want to be relatable to God's people, you know, and I want that young lady who might not, you know, she might have that little short skirt, she might still be in the club, she might still be wearing all her makeup and, you know, still, you know, living her life in a quote-unquote worldly way, but she has a question. But because she feels she doesn't look like, you know, what a Christian looks like, I want her to look at me and say, well, do you know what? Let me ask that lady, or maybe I can come as I am, because, you know, sometimes I feel that is also an issue, where some people want to find out more, they want to see Christ, but they don't know if they can, because they don't know if they fit the right mold, you know. So I want people to know through my story as well, through the Everything book, that, you know, come as you are. It is a journey. It is up and down. You know, you do still have those struggles, but God loves you irrespective. You know, God accepts you as you are. You know, God can turn things around. You know, you don't have to come perfect before you can have a relationship with God, because trust me, I was not perfect. You know, if you read chapter 4 of my book, it's called Flesh versus Spirit. And, you know, I've written very honestly in that chapter about where I was before I came to Christ, all the things that I was getting myself caught up trying to seek some kind of happiness. So, you know, I want people to really know that it's okay wherever you are. It's okay. Come as you are. You know, you're accepted as you are. And that's I feel like my role is to reach as many people as possible in a relatable way and let them know that wherever you are, it's okay. You know, it's okay. And it goes back to the whole forgiveness thing, forgiving yourself of your past, you know, forgiving yourself, you know, if you feel like I'm not perfect or I've made mistakes, just forgive yourself, let it go, because Christ died on the cross for you. Grace is God's rescue at Christ's expense. He paid the penalty for us to be able to come time and time again as we are. So I'm sorry to have rambled on a bit with that point, but I just want anyone who's listening who is unsure to know that they are loved irrespective of where they stand, whether they have the struggles or not, whether they're up, down again. God still loves them. God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He will not change. And I just want any of my brothers and sisters that are listening, if they have a question mark, that's okay, but come with that question mark and let God show you who he is in your life. That's what I would like to say to anyone who's listening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Janine, for being on the show tonight. I know
Thank
it's late for you, my sister, but you came on and you were live for us anyway, and I appreciate you greatly. Greatly.
I appreciate you.
I know that the audience and the UK audience as well are very appreciative of you and love your mission and your work, my sister.
Thank
Jessica,
you.
do you have any, before we close down, Jessica, do you have anything you would like to add before we go?
Yeah, thank you so much for being a guest on our call. We appreciate you. And
thank you.
You know, we're really especially taking the time. I know with the time difference, it's pretty early in the morning or the middle of the night, depending upon how you look at it, where you are. So
that's fine.
We appreciate very much you being here.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate both of you guys, and it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. You know, you guys understand the importance and the power of forgiveness, and you know, and the importance of allowing God in our lives. So thank you for allowing me to be a guest and to join in with you guys. It's been awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if something Janine said to y'all tonight resonated with you, you can definitely find us on Change Your Minds Online. You can find this episode on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and, of course, our YouTube channel. I just want to say to everyone tonight, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for all the things and all the support that you give us here on Change Your Minds Online. Please continue to support us in the Empowering Faith series, because we plan to give you some wonderful nuggets from God. Until next time, everyone, have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.